So it's another complete shit show in lawless Britain, with 10 innocents slaughtered on a train by a black man who we are told nothing about, other than that he was born in Britain, as were, by the way, the 7/7 terrorists, Lee Rigby's killer, and Axel Rudakabana. But if we dare raise questions about the very obvious cover-up going on by the elite class, including our hapless leaders and toothless MSM, then we are somehow racist. Every time after one of these attacks, we ask for transparency. Every time we never get it until someone is charged, as happened with 32-year-old Anthony Williams this morning. Then we're all just meant to shut up. Well, no. Because the Cambridgeshire police have had to refer themselves to the police watchdog because this was said Anthony Williams just hours before his knife rampage on the train to Huntingdon, terrifying even more innocents at a barber's. Watch. So that was hours beforehand. It has also been revealed that he allegedly stabbed a 14-year-old boy in Peterborough the day before the train attack. But in the past few minutes, our corrupted and our complicit Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has told us yet again we all just have to shut up and be patient.
I know this House and the public will have many unanswered questions today about who this attacker was and about the events that led up to the attack. Those questions will be answered, but it will take time. The police and prosecutors must be allowed to do their work.
That's not good enough. We need answers. We are sick of waiting, and we don't trust you. Because even now, the MSM and the elite class seem more concerned about community cohesion, focusing on the fact that this man was born in Britain, which means, there's nothing to even talk about. As Paul Joseph Watson pointed out facetiously, however, as British's afternoon tea, a red phone box, fish and chips, and Axel Rudakabana. And pointing out the complicity of the MSM in this ongoing cover-up, Lilani Dowding added, many papers are using picture 1. You can see it's a zoomed-in, cropped picture of picture 2, which looks to be at the barber's shop. Charity Today alleges he went into a barber's shop where the staff called the police, but the police did nothing and no action was taken. And let me read to you some of that horrifying report from Charity Today. It is alleged that police were alerted to the man now charged in connection with the Huntingdon train incident before a serious assault aboard a London-bound service. Sources have alleged that a man had earlier entered a barbershop on Queen's Walk in the Fletton and Wootton area of Peterborough, once on Friday and again on the morning of the incident. Staff are said to have contacted police after being left terrified by his behaviour, which can be seen on CCTV footage reviewed by Charity Today. Eyewitnesses told Charity Today that a man appeared visibly distressed and agitated as he entered the barbershop, brandishing a knife on Friday afternoon and again on Saturday morning. Footage shown to Charity Today appears to show staff fleeing for their lives as a man entered the premises with a large kitchen knife. One witness told Charity Today they believe they have previously seen the same man and suggested he may be known to some local residents. A local business owner in Wootton, Peterborough, claimed the police knew about it. I encountered the man twice, once on Friday night and once again on Saturday morning. I saw that big kitchen knife he had. I have the CCTV footage. God was watching over us. It is alleged that officers were made aware of the man's presence, but did not detain him or carry out an assessment. At this stage, investigators have not confirmed any link between the earlier reports in Peterborough and the subsequent train incident. But it gets worse, folks. It gets much worse. Because the Huntington train suspect also allegedly stabbed a DLR passenger the night before his knife rampage. So this took place in the early hours of Saturday at Pontoon Dock DLR station shortly before 1 a.m. It is understood his victim suffered facial injuries after being attacked with a knife. Williams then left that location before going on a knife rampage on the high-speed train to London on Saturday evening. And we all know what happened next.
Move now. Ladies, run, please, run.
Running on the train. Mate, they're doing something but fucking what the... Did you explain it to them? No. They're going for someone on the train. What happened to that? I'm listening. Give me a hug now! Give me a hug!
4, 6, 8, there's at least 10 ambulances, 12 ambulances.
Oh my god. Did you explain it to them? No. They're going for someone on the train. What happened to that? I'm listening. Give me a hug! Give me a hug now! Give me a hug!
The scenes on board that train were truly horrific. From the Telegraph, the train left Peterborough station at 7:30 p.m. Moments later, there came a message over the tannoy. We are aware there is an incident. Just keep yourselves safe. What followed was 14 minutes of terror as LNER passengers were trapped in a moving train with a marauding knife attacker. Some tried to hide in the toilets. Others collapsed from their injuries, soaking the train seats in blood during a scene that felt like something from a film, witnesses said. One passenger initially believed that it was a Halloween prank until he saw blood covering the carriages. The accounts from those poor souls on board as the driver fled to Huntington for 14 painful minutes were just hellish. Okay, half of you watching this are not subscribed to Dan Wootton Outspoken, and the best way you can support what we do is by hitting that subscribe button. It is completely free, and turn on the notification bell to be alerted to our new episodes.
What happened to you, sir, last night?
We just happened to be on the same, and this is just all from a lad's life that I tried to save to stop the bleeding.
What did you see?
Just no worries, mate. Just a young lad that had a lot of stab wounds, and I just created a makeshift tourniquet to try and stop his bleeding.
And how are you tonight?
Pretty shaken up by the whole thing, as you would expect. You don't get on the train expecting anything like that, but I'm just trying to get on with life now.
Can I ask your name? Sir?
Thank you.
Andy.
Andy
Gray.
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 With an E?
A. With an A.
Thank you, Andy.
I was in Coach H. I was literally just listening to Audible on my phone. And then I had guys suddenly run past going, run. There's a guy stabbing literally everyone, everything. There was a few of us kind of looking at each other like thinking it was a joke, like it's Halloween, I'll be pranking. But then you could kind of see in their faces they were being serious. I kind of got my stuff and I was running and everyone was really pushing behind us, really panicking. And at this point, I was kind of asking questions like, what's happening? Like, who is it? And they were like, a guy's just stabbing everyone back there. Put my hand on this chair, like just trying to push myself forward. And then I look at my hand and it's covered in blood. And then I look at the chair and there's blood all over the chair. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is pretty serious. So some of the guys that had ran through to kind of alert us to run, they were the ones who had also been stabbed. So we're running over and getting to the edge of the carriage, still trying to work out who is it, what's their intentions, what's their motives. I just knew they were stabbing everyone, and someone kind of said they thought they had a gun, pulled the emergency alarm, and was trying to work out, can we barricade the doors, can we lock the doors, but we couldn't really. And then by the time I got to the end of the carriage, I realised I was actually at the back of it, and there was about 6 of us. There was a girl, bless her, who was really, really in a bit of a state because the guy had actually tried to stab her, and one of the older guys, who's an absolute hero, blocked it with his head, and he's got this like gash. He had this gash on his head. He's got I think a gash on his neck, and he's we're kind of giving him like our jackets to keep the pressure on the blood. And while we're doing that, there's a person that I know, and he's kind of looked at me and gone like, have you got anything we can use in case he comes through?
There's at least 10 ambulances, 12 ambulances.
We had a Jack Daniels bottle between us, and that was it. So we're kind of sitting there with one Jack Daniels bottle, just looking down the end of this carriage, just praying somebody doesn't walk down with a knife, with a gun. We didn't really know what was going on.
So quite naturally, a nation already on edge after the stabbing to death of Wayne Broadhurst in West London last week, allegedly by an Afghan illegal who arrived here on the back of a lorry, saw Epping locals erupt in furious street protests, leaving multiple people furious.
Save the nation! Deportation! 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 Refugees are welcome here! Refugees are welcome here!
But for our media class, that is just dismissed as far-right racism. Indeed, the new host of Sly News' breakfast show, who is meant to be a journalist, his father was David Frost, he's letting his dad's name down, actually argued today that the cops should not disclose the ethnicity of criminals.
Why do we need to know that particular detail? I think the fact that he's a British citizen is relevant. It kind of puts to bed the idea, which could have perhaps led to the most pronounced uprisings and anger on the streets if the person was here illegally. I'm not sure where the ethnicity is necessary. I don't blame the police. They're following the new guidance, and these things evolve over time. But it'd be interesting to see where the final guidance on this ends up. It's only temporary guidance at the moment.
Do you notice how fucked up our media class is? They literally care more about protests on the street than they do about innocents being stabbed by a madman on a train. Think about that. And then there's Lewis Goodall.
Toby Young tweeted last night, quote, "If Britain's drift towards civil conflict continues, the next phase will be physical. When politics ceases to settle grievances, they're settled by other means." Is that the sort of thing that a Tory peer ought to be posting online?
I don't think we are there today. I'm not saying, and I don't suppose Toby Young was saying that we are there today, but we've got to make sure we have, there are some common values. I think Elon Musk is wrong, and I think people who think, anybody who thinks we are there today, I think they're wrong. But
surely we're nowhere near it at any point.
At any point?
Well, civil conflict in Britain, Kevin, really? Are things that bad?
I don't think we'll go there. But I think
Toby Young seems to.
Well, I don't think he's saying that. He said, I haven't read the piece, so
well,
let
he's
me have a
tweeting
proper
a link
read
to an article which suggested it could be on the way. And I'm just saying to you that he's a Conservative peer. He's got the Conservative whip. There would have been a time, I think, not so long ago, where he'd lose the whip for posting something like that. That's sort of hysteria.
I think it would be a big mistake not to confront some of the realities we have in our society.
Sure, you can do that and not predict civil conflict.
I'm not sure he is doing that, but and that's what not what I'm predicting. But I do want to make sure we don't simply sweep these issues under the carpet.
This tyranny from the MSM to brand anyone racist for asking questions that has caused, I believe, so much silence from our political leaders, and it is sick. As John James pointed out, since when was it part of British culture for train carriages to become abattoirs? Who are these British nationals? Who raised these British nationals? Were they known to the security services? Were they released from prison early? Those poor passengers deserve better. Tommy Robinson added, police now say there's only one suspect in Huntington mass train stabbing. So who was the other British-born suspect they emphasised so much about? Why is there no footage from anyone released? It's all very smoke and mirrors again. And despite shocking news stories of the fact we are literally importing criminals, Lib Dem MP Liz Jarvis wrote, any politician trying to use last night's awful events to stoke hatred and division should be ashamed. That prompted Connor Tomlinson, a regular here on Outspoken, to reply, we don't have to live like this, Liz. It isn't normal. The presence of these murderous savages in our country is optional. They were brought here by government policy and they can be expelled and kept out by government policy. Question is, why are you more worried about having that conversation than you are about law-abiding Brits being raped and killed every day on our streets by people who never needed to be here in the first place? Advanced UK leader Ben Habib posed the very fair question. So they ruled out terrorism without even knowing the identity of the attacker? And he added, we have the stabber's name. We are told he is British and of Caribbean descent. Apparently that is meant to quell our desire to know why he sought to kill innocent people on a train. We have been given no motive for the attack and no understanding of this man's beliefs, as wretched as they are. We need chapter and verse on this barbarian. Burnside added, having breathed a sigh of relief yesterday that the train attack was carried out by a British national, the government may be wondering if someone known to authorities who is linked to 4 knife attacks might show the state to be at fault in protecting the public. And Rob Boyd raged, the story everyone should be focusing on about Anthony Williams is how police bungled the chance to apprehend him after he stabbed someone on the DLR the previous day. The incompetence is priceless. And indeed it is telling to me that it's only political leaders outside of Parliament, Habib and Nick Tanconi of UKIP, who have been prepared to pose the very difficult questions needed. But first, this time of year, the air gets harsher, the heating's on, and skin takes a beating. Dryness, fine lines, that loss of bounce. So now I need to tell you about how I've been avoiding those issues through the incredible products of One Skin, the world's first skin longevity company. It's led by an all-female team of PhDs in skin regeneration and tissue engineering, and their standout technology is the OS1 peptide. Instead of just masking dryness, OS1 is designed to work at the cellular level, targeting senescent cells, the troublemakers behind wrinkles and reduced elasticity, so skin can behave more like its younger self. By addressing aging at the source, OS1 helps support a stronger moisture barrier, improves the look of firmness and bounce, and smooths rough, tired-looking texture. The result is skin that looks and feels more resilient, better hydrated, and visibly healthier, supported from the source rather than just the surface. The range is simple but powerful. The best sellers, OS1 Face, a moisturizer and longevity serum in one, OS1 Body for crepey, dry or thinning skin, perfect when the seasons change, and OS1 Eye, their most concentrated formula for the delicate eye area. Every formula is dermatologist tested, safe for sensitive skin, NEA approved, backed by 5 published clinical studies, and trusted with over 10,000 5-star reviews. If you're ready to upgrade your routine for the colder months, start with Face and build from there. This season, don't just moisturize, support your skin at the cellular level with One Skin. And for a limited time, you can try One Skin with 15% off using code OUTSPOKEN at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co with the code OUTSPOKEN. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. And please support our show and tell them it was via Dan Wootton Outspoken. Try One Skin today. But now, back to the show.
I think the impression he was trying to give in that description was that those of us who are concerned about the assault on our country by illegal migrants and other criminals who shouldn't be here needn't be concerned, that this is an entirely domestic British issue. But remember that after the killings in Southport, the brutal killings of those 3 young girls, Starmer described the perpetrator as a Welshman. Starmer indulged, in my view, undoubtedly indulged, in deflection. He wanted to give exactly the same impression that Lovelace has tried to give us this morning about the identity of these 2 men. Now, it's quite possible that they are, in every sense, British, but he didn't give us their names, and I will remain extremely suspicious until we get chapter and verse on who these two people are. It's almost inconceivable in my mind that this wasn't an act of terrorism. Why would you needlessly pull out knives and kill or seek to kill people, random people on a train? If that isn't terrorism, what the hell is?
If it's not terror-related, in the most heinous of crimes, where two men have dressed in black bloc, they've inserted themselves into a metal tube deliberately to slash and slay and to terrorise unarmed, defenceless, innocent civilians. If it's not terror-related, then what's the explanation? Signed confessions and nothing else. Signed confessions with regards to the motivations for this attack. Nothing else will do. Here's a thought. If it's not terror-related, what is it to do with? Because if it's terror-related, we all know that links to ideology. That makes it terrorism. This is very dangerous. As soon as you remove the terrorism label, it can't be to do with ideology. That means you can't point it at any one direction, be that demographic, religion. Causality goes out the window, and we're there losing our minds thinking, well, we're just surrounded by knife-wielding psychopaths and maniacs. The British public isn't buying it anymore. I'm not buying it anymore. We haven't for a very long time. These acts are so heinous, so callous. The only thing that matters now is causality. And I've seen different political leaders throw in their 2 cents about what needs to happen next. Order must be restored to Britain. The only way you can have order, indeed to restore it, is to enforce it. The British government are making no noises whatsoever about what's going to change. You can't throw money at the problem. If it's ideologically related and therefore terrorism, this is something that has to be confronted and fought, defeated, removed, eradicated, not just from our country, but from planet Earth. If it's ideological related, it's terrorism. If it's not, it's lone wolf stuff, mental health stuff. Do we really believe that?
Do you know we haven't seen the Prime Minister, our hated Prime Minister, at all since this event? He still hasn't said a word about Wayne Broadhurst either. On the night itself, he managed this one post on X. The truly awful Wes Streeting, can you believe this? More interested, as people were being massacred on a train, in posting about Strictly Come Dancing. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, said she was deeply saddened, but was much more concerned to warn, I urge people to avoid comment and speculation at this early stage. Stephen Barrett fumed in response, Shabana, don't you dare speculate hurty ideas about the mass stabber Mahmood, must never be our Prime Minister. And Reform UK's Layla Cunningham added, I can't stop thinking about those victims, 10 beautiful lives, families in agony waiting to see if they pull through. I am devastated. We are a nation in mourning. And Shabana's first instinct isn't fury, urgency, or a vow to catch them or make our trains safe. Her priority is to silence us, to manage our reaction, not our safety. A train was turned into a war zone. What's next? We are sitting ducks now. Our great nation is desperate for leaders that feel our fury, our fears, and are ruthlessly focused on keeping us safe. Instead, we have leaders who want us to shut up and die. And by the way, have you noticed that this point about don't speculate is also being wheeled out by the MSM? This was Sly News.
Initially, the police have said very, very clearly, has the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is that it's important for people not to speculate. It's important that people don't start sharing images on social media. You may well have loved ones who have been injured, and then they've not been able to tell their loved ones, and it'd be terrible if people saw those images of people who are hurt or people who are distressed circulating on social media. If anybody has any information, then please contact 101 or send it, upload it to Cambridgeshire Police's website.
Yes, that's a very important point to make.
But there are doubts about the official narrative. One outspoken viewer wrote to me yesterday, I was working last night. I'm a train dispatcher at Cambridge, And we were dealing with all the customers who were diverted to us. Some were shaken. The staff was shaken, as we have friends who work on LNER. We were told a different story from what the news and the police are now spinning. I know who to believe, and it's not them. Now, again, you're not going to hear about this in the MSM, but others were furious about the length of time it took for the train to stop, with Daniel, whose partner was on board, writing 20 whole minutes of slaughter. No stops, nothing. Peterborough to Huntingdon. Of course, there is also the elephant in the room that being British-born doesn't mean you aren't a psychopath terrorist who wants to kill Brits. Here's the list of shame. Lee Rigby killers, UK-born. Southport stabber, UK-born. Shoe bomber, UK-born. 7/7 bombers, UK-born. 27 Westminster attack, UK-born. Manchester Arena bomber, UK-born. 2019 London Bridge attack, UK-born. And it goes on. The UK has a massive issue with violent second-generation immigrants. And Russell Quirk of Reform UK added, this has to be said. Just because the police tell us that the two Huntingdon attackers are British-born does not mean that they are not terrorists, nor does it mean they are not radicalised. Many multiple victim attacks in Britain, including terrorism, have been carried out by people born here. More information is required before we are able to form a properly considered view on this atrocity. We will not be gaslit again. But the problem is, as you well know, this is all about information control. Today in Parliament, even the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, was saying, oh, you've got to be so careful not to prejudice the trial. They all hide behind our draconian contempt of court laws. And what they want to do is shut down the very real discussion that we know we need to have. And this isn't just because of the train attack, by the way. It's because of what happened to Wayne Broadhurst, stabbed to death by the illegal. Or at least allegedly stabbed to death by the illegal. Again, I've got to be careful because of contempt of court. How ludicrous is that? We saw it with our own eyes on bloody camera. Constantine Kisson of Trigonometry, credit to him, because he was prepared to go there in a powerful viral post. I want to share it with you. Constantine wrote, I don't want thoughts and prayers. I don't want to hear about diversity being our greatest strength. I don't want to know about communities coming together. I want every single foreign criminal out. I want the borders closed. I want extremist organisations banned. And I am saying it now before the facts are known for a reason. We may not know all the facts, but we do know one fact. British people don't go on stabbing sprees. They just don't. The problem is imported. When I came to Britain in the mid-1990s, it was a safe, high-trust society. And I don't care if the suspects in this case end up being homegrown. Homegrown just means we should never have allowed their parents in. We may not be able to undo all the damage that's been done to our country, but we must immediately stop doing the things that got us here. End all illegal immigration now. Tow the boats back to France. I don't care if the French get upset. Deport every single foreign criminal. Right now, I don't care about their life, right to a family life. You threw your rights out the window when you decided to abuse our hospitality. Out. No benefits for foreign nationals. If you want to come here, pay your way. Ban extremist organisations like Muslim Brotherhood. Deport or imprison extremist preachers. British people have had enough. Look at the scenes from Birmingham at the weekend. This is not Britain. It must not be Britain. It all makes a mockery of Mahmood's boast about knife crime murders being down. As Peter Bleskley put it, remember the 1st of November, bloodshed, horror and plot. That date should serve as a watershed moment when government and the police committed to robustly and relentlessly fight the scourge of knife crime. Question is, will they? Answer, of course they won't. They all have blood on their hands. Now, the Superstar panel. Peter C. Barnes and Howard Cox with me. Howard, Shabana Mahmood in the last half hour telling us, don't worry your pretty little heads. You know, just let the police take all the time in the world. We still know nothing about this man. He was trying to stab people for the 24 hours before he got on that train, and the police did nothing, Howard Cox.
Absolutely, Dan, and a beautiful introduction, mate. I mean, a lot of the things they're saying there, I echoed also on social media. But listening to our Home Secretary not say anything and hide behind, and we're seeing it non-stop, aren't we, Dan and Peter? We're seeing the fact that government are covering up these things to suit their agenda. They can't blame anything to do. We can't, you know, if we criticise him, he's black, he's from Caribbean, we're immediately called a racist. And I've been called that more and more now, especially as I've, you know, now part of, you know, I've left Reform, part of Advance UK. The simple fact is this. If I hear another politician saying my thoughts and prayers is their first sentence, I'm going to put my fist through that television screen when I see it. I'm sick to death of these platitudes. And in my tweet immediately afterwards, I said exactly that. We need action. And I actually said, if you don't mind me saying, do your fucking job.
Totally. Absolutely. No, we need it. But Peter C. Barnes, it clearly wasn't done. Because it looks like, and of course we are unfortunately constrained by these ludicrous contempt of court laws. But I mean, what we can say is the Cambridgeshire police have had to report themselves because by all accounts, there were multiple opportunities missed with this absolute lunatic. I mean, look at the footage from the barbers. And the barbers reported him to the police.
Well, is anybody surprised? I generally am not surprised anymore. That's half of the problem. I thought that was a brilliant introduction, Dan. I really do. But, you know, we're told to give the police time, let them investigate. I wouldn't remind people there's currently 22 inquiries, statutory or non-statutory inquiries going on at the moment. 22. How much longer do we have to wait? The idea of let them investigate is a kind of political tool to say, we don't know what to say. We need some more time to think of an excuse for our own failure. That's what it is. But more importantly, when they do have these investigations, I look at the whole Jonathan Hall's investigation into the terrorism legislation after Southport. It says very clearly in that Prevent and the authorities need to move away from thinking in terms of ideology and thinking in terms of violence. And that is how we should start to reclassify things. And it was ignored. That was the report this year. So they could do all their investigations, but then they don't follow through on anything. That's part of the big problem, is that we can do whatever, you know, all these inquiries and all the investigations, but you don't follow through. You don't back it up. That's my problem with every bit of the political establishment at the minute. They talk a good game, but when they have to put, you know, actually do something, they're not even in the room, let alone, you know, behind a wheel of a car to get us anywhere, because this is the point. We are so at threat. I've over the last couple of days, I got a little tired of people saying this is a peaceful country. It isn't, and it hasn't been for a long time. The rise in serious crime has gone through the roof. The rise in terror-related offences since 2017 is astronomical. And most of that, I hate to break it to people, is young radicalized youth. Radicalization is the problem.
Yes,
and also is not in control of it.
100%. And critically, what I think we have to speak about, Howard Cox, is the fact that these people do have different cultural norms, even if they are British born. And that is proven time and again. So in this case, Howard, it's simply not enough to say that this guy is a British national who happens to be black. That is not enough, Howard. Unfortunately, I need to know where his parents are from, when they came to this country, What were the circumstances behind the way that he was raised? Those questions all matter. We've seen that very recently, Howard, with Jihad al-Shami, who is the ISIS terrorist who attacked the synagogue in Manchester. And again, he came here in 2004, but was clearly radicalized while here. So the fact that Sly News says we shouldn't even know the ethnicity of the attacker is ludicrous to me, because I actually think we need to know much, much more about this man's background.
Absolutely spot on. We're being invaded by cultures that just do not respect decency, culture, Christian values, all those sorts of things. They are coming here and we're being inflicting on this. And one of the things I'd like to see is a true definition of what terrorism is. Because, you know, as you know, I'm going to Tommy's verdict tomorrow, and, you know, he's being charged under the Terrorism Act for driving a car over to Spain, and also recently, obviously previously to that, for not giving his password to his phone under the Terrorism Act. What was yesterday but an act of terrorism? It doesn't matter if it's a lone wolf. People were terrorised. And in a situation when you get this mass stabbing type situation, it has to be terrorism. And these people are coming from overseas, as you quite rightly see, or maybe second or third generation, but their culture is being passed down and it's inflicted and being implemented into our lives and all our families. But I've got a daughter that worried sick about going out at night. We're in a situation at the moment in time where we must have stop and search and make sure we get these people. Let's go back to that and catch the criminals and put police back on the street.
Indeed, and Howard is very right to point out the Tommy Robinson trial verdict on these ludicrous terror charges is coming tomorrow morning. The best place to find out exactly what is going on from court is right here on Outspoken. We will be live with you from 9:30 a.m. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.